So if you would have told me in August, or maybe even earlier than that, that the 49ers would be one game away from representing the NFC in the Super Bowl, I would have told you were crazy. At least me and a lot of 49er fans and even media pundits had the 49ers finishing no better than, say, 8-8, 9-7, 10-6 on the high side. I don't think anybody in their right mind thought the 49ers would be this close to, representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. But here we are, and it's really happening. The 49ers thoroughly dominated the Minnesota Vikings 27-10 and advanced themselves with an opportunity to defeat the winner of the Green Bay-Seattle game that happens earlier or later today as of when I'm recording this. That game has not been decided. Personally, I guess it really doesn't matter who we play, but if you were going to put a gun to my head and ask me who I'd rather play, I'd probably say the Packers, only because they're more of a pocket passing team, and I feel like the Niners feast on those type of players. The Niners do tend to struggle a little bit with mobile quarterbacks who can break outside the pocket. So, I mean, again, it really doesn't matter. I think us being at home and having the full gambit of players back on defense, it really shouldn't matter who it is that we end up going against. But like I said, if you really had to put a gun to my head and tell me or ask me who I want to go against, I would say Green Bay. But like I said, whatever. So the 49ers' victory yesterday was a pretty decisive one. I would say that the game was out of hand, by the second half. I didn't see there was a chance the Minnesota Vikings were really ever going to make a game of it. I just thought the 49ers defense looked like the defense of earlier in this year, where the pass rush just completely overwhelmed and dominated the offensive line of the other team. Part of the reason for that is the Niners really focused on shutting down Dalvin Cook in this game. If you listen to any of the media or interviews and stuff on like the 49er website or any other 49er, radio or whatever, a lot of them were saying that their biggest concern was Dalvin Cook. Shutting him down would, force the Vikings into known passing situations, and they thought that they had an advantage with that. Early on, though, it didn't look like they had an advantage with that because Kella Witherspoon, a guy I talked about in my previous preview video, he was on a really short leash, and early in this game, the Vikings went right at him. And they pretty much had told him before the game that he was on a pretty short leash. They were totally honest with him. And sure enough, on cue, he gets a pass interference penalty and then gives up two big catches, including I think it was a 47-yard touchdown pass to Stephon Diggs. And that was pretty much it for his day. And from that point forward, the 49ers defense was on lockdown. Minnesota really couldn't do much the whole game other than that drive where they scored on Witherspoon. And like I said, it looked like an old school, early on in the season 49ers victory where the Niners just pretty much ran roughshod and did what they wanted. Offensively, the 49ers, I think the running game was just on yesterday. Jimmy Garoppolo looked good early in the first drive and maybe a little bit after. But then, he threw the interception, and I think Shanahan knew what kind of game that he wanted to have, and I think the running game was working so well that why risk it? I'm totally confident in Jimmy Garoppolo having the ball put in his hands on his shoulders. But, in the playoffs, if you got something that's working and you don't think the other team can stop you and you can pretty much eventually, make them quit by running the ball as much as they did, 47 rushing attempts, then do it. It doesn't matter. To me, in the playoffs, it doesn't matter how you win as long as you win. I don't care if Jimmy throws 3 passes and we run 70 times. I really don't care. I just want a victory. And I know most fans would agree with that. The stats look good on paper when your quarterback throws for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in a playoff game. But if that ends up not equaling a victory, then it really doesn't matter. Defensively, I think we just got back to basics. Rushing the passer on downs where we knew the pass was coming and having D Ford back was a huge get. Personally, I was pretty critical all week of how, I questioned the Niners' move of acquiring D Ford in the offseason. I thought, up until they said he was going to play before the game and there was all these questions and he had all this time off and he somehow couldn't find a way to get on the field. I personally am irritated by that because I feel like the Niners maybe got suckered into a bad trade in the offseason. For the amount of money that they put into him and, giving up a second-round draft pick, they haven't really got back as much as they would have wanted from that trade. Not saying that when he's on the field that he doesn't make an impact, because he does. It's just, I'm a little bit more highly critical because I feel like, a lot of the other players were fighting through stuff. Sherman had the exact same injury and was able to make a go of it 1 week after he went down. You got Quan coming back from his, torn pec early. He's 3 months? He's still like 2-3 months early from, it's a 6-month injury and he's out there, 2.5 months after it happened. And then having a guy like Jaquiski Tartt back they just felt like the complete defense that they were early on in the season. The 49ers recorded 6 sacks yesterday and everybody got a little piece of it. I'm going to take a look at the stats here and I'll tell you exactly what happened here. We had Nick Bosa with 2 sacks, Eric Armstead with 1 sack, D Ford with 1 sack, DeForest Buckner with a sack, and even our man Solomon Thomas got 1. So everybody feasted yesterday. Everybody ate and had a piece of it. And, as much as you love to see games where the quarterback does his thing and it's an offensive shootout, personally, myself, I am a defensive guy. I like defensive games. Defensive games sometimes could be a little worrisome because they're low scoring, but I just like seeing a team impose their will on another team and, force them to eventually quit. And that's pretty much what happened yesterday. Speaking of the defense, I don't know if you guys caught the post game. Richard Sherman really went in on some of his critics. I mean, this guy, love him or hate him, when he was with Seattle, he's the best cover corner in football. And a lot of people slight him and say he's a zone corner, and they always give reasons to why he's successful. And when it comes down to it, the guy puts in the work, and he makes the plays. And when it comes to playoff football, the guy hasn't given up a touchdown. He's got 3 interceptions, and he just comes to work and makes plays. And I personally have loved what he brings to this team. I love that he uses outside motivation to inspire this team. The media all year has been down on us for, saying we were pretenders or we weren't real or always making excuses why we're doing good, never giving Jimmy Garoppolo any credit. And I don't know if you guys caught I forgot the show that it's from, but they had everybody picking the Minnesota Vikings to beat us. And it happened on a couple of shows across TV where pretty much all the anchors picked the Minnesota Vikings to come in and upset us based on one victory. Cousins finally gets a victory and all of a sudden, they're world beaters and they're going to, shock the world and come in and beat us. And that didn't happen. Again, you look at a team like the Baltimore Ravens who had exactly that happen. They had a team that was coming in that nobody believed would win the game. And they went in there and they shocked the world and they beat Baltimore, and Baltimore's going home. That didn't happen with the 49ers. The 49ers were prepared. The 49ers had rest. They were able to get their complete defense back, and it showed yesterday, and I couldn't be happier. Going back to the offense, it wasn't the prettiest game. Jimmy started out well, looked a little shaky in the end. But like I said, in the end, it matters only if you win. The running game was able to, pretty much move the ball at will on them. Tevin Coleman had a huge game. It doesn't matter who the back is. Kyle Shanahan said, he goes with the hot hand, and the hot hand was Tevin yesterday. Raheem Mostert got a little nicked up in that game. For what he said, he was sick all week, so he was dehydrated. So he had I think he had a calf cramp during the game, so he wasn't able to return. But it doesn't really matter with that running game. It's just who's hot and who moves the ball. I mean, early in the year, if you guys remember, Jeff Wilson Jr. would come in and score touchdowns for us. Matt Breida had big plays early on. I mean, he's fallen off a little bit, Matt Breida, but that's okay. We got plenty of other guys that can come in and step up, and they did that. Kittle had a quiet game yesterday in the stats, but the guy is a huge run blocker. He's one of the best run blockers in the league, and not a bad pass blocker either. And that's where he made his due yesterday. Deebo Samuel continues to impress me. For a rookie, he's making plays and he's stepping up. I'm really impressed with Deebo. I was kind of hard on him early in the year. I thought the Niners maybe have swung and missed on another receiver. I was wrong. I will own that, and I'm glad I was wrong. Kendrick Bourne was a little bit head-scratcher yesterday because he made some big, awesome catches and catches that moved the chain, and then he had a couple drops yesterday which were infuriating. So, it's more of the same with him. He makes plays that you don't expect, and he's kind of Jimmy's go-to guy on like third down, and then there's times where you throw it to him and he just, I don't know. He's definitely inconsistent, but, they're going to keep going to him. He's made plays when they needed him, so, why not go to the guy? He scored a touchdown yesterday, and that's all you can ask for. Just participate, have a contribution in the game, and help us get a victory, and he did that. Jimmy was a little erratic yesterday, but it doesn't matter because we didn't need him. And I know for a fact that if we do need him, Jimmy will step up. I have nothing but confidence in that. And I'm just happy that I can say that we have a chance to play for the Super Bowl next week. And like I said in the beginning of this video, I never thought I would be able to say that this year. But we do have that chance. And you got to take advantage of those chances because nothing's guaranteed. These things don't come around all the time. I made the comment, I don't know if I made a comment in another video or to somebody in real life, that the 49ers, they have a pretty tough schedule next year. So when you have the opportunities to make a run at this thing, you gotta seize them. And I hope the 49ers can seize those opportunities, win 2 more games, and then we could say they're world champions. I hope I can make a video on here talking about how the Niners just won their 6th Super Bowl. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm all sorts of emotion right now. I mean, the 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl since I was 15 years old. I'm now 40. So I think we're due. and I hope it happens. I'm pretty confident that we can get there, no matter who we play next week. But games still got to be played; they're not played on paper, and it'll be interesting to see who we get and how that game turns out. So, all is good in Niner land, at least for this week, and hopefully, I can talk to you guys again next week with us advancing to the Super Bowl, and I'll make another video on that as well. And I will talk to everybody later. Everybody have a good day. See ya.